our meeting to order of the Par Valley Healthcare District Hospital Corporation Finance Committee for Tuesday, June 25th. Rosie, can you do the roll call for us?
Yes. Director Gallagher? Julie Pearson? Here. Matt Covrangi? Jessica Dixon? Here. And Chair Pimentel?
Here.
Forum.
We can acknowledge Joe, Dr. Gallagher, when he's going to get. So just a statement that Director Gallagher, member of our Finance Committee, has requested permission to attend remotely per AB 22449, which states that a board member may participate remotely for just cause should they have or be exposed to contagious illness that will keep them from attending. I would like to make a motion that Director Gallagher be able to attend remotely. Once the motion is approved, confirm whether or not Dr. Gallagher has anyone in the room with him over the age of 18, and if so, what his relationship is with them. So it's my recommendation and motion that we allow Dr. Gallagher to attend remotely.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Julie Peterson? Yes. Matt Covrangi?
Yes.
Jessica Dixon?
Yes.
Chair Pimentel?
Yes.
And let the record show that Matco has joined us at 12:02. And I still do not see Dr. Gallagher online, but we will.
As soon as he joins, we'll confirm it.
Welcome him in.
Anyone feel rating with him? So, Jackie, any agenda modifications? We have supplemental information that was received.
Yeah, just an updated, one document had an error on it that we just caught and corrected, but no agenda mod.
Okay. Do you have any comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Under consent are minutes from our May 28, 2024 meeting. I'll happily take a motion to approve the minutes from May 28th. Echo?
Second.
Jessica?
Thank you. Director Gallagher? Jessica Dixon?
Yes.
Julie Peterson?
Yes.
Matt Covrangi? And Chair Pimentel?
Yes. We go on to our discussion item. Item number 2, the financial performance for May 2024.
Okay. I'm ready. Okay, so I'll start with May's results, because May results had a significant impact on our year-to-date results. So for the month of May, our EBITDA loss was $151,000, and our net loss was about $511,000. Our gross revenues were very high this month, and both in the inpatient and outpatient side. That we did end up with an overall AR valuation that was lower than, resulted in lower percent collectible. Some of that can be related to charge increase and not always a corresponding net revenue increase. Our payer mix was very good, or fairly good, but not necessarily as strong as it had been the month before. And we did identify some issues in prior month valuation of some higher dollar accounts that were a little bit overvalued. And so that's been corrected as part of the May valuation. One positive thing for the net revenue is that we received some private hospital DSH supplemental funding. This was a result of something that actually spanned about 10 years related to the Affordable Care Act and how the federal matching program was supposed to work, and apparently it didn't work quite as designed, so they had done a recoupment of I think it was about $350,000 recoupment in April. but they recouped these funds, they sent them up to get federal match, and we ended up with $900,000 and change, which, actually was a $624,000 pickup for us, recorded in May. Let's go to the next slide. So what this month-to-date result ended up with, we'll get to the year-to-date, is that we're basically sitting at break-even with a net income of $1,680. Good news is that that's better than what we budgeted by, $1.3 million, so happy about that. We are still favorable on the net revenue side, just slightly favorable. You can see $1.8 million favorable, which is about $260 per adjusted patient day. We are continuing to see the outpatient volume growing and exceeding budget. Well, the inpatient volume is below budget as it has been all month or all year long. We have seen, and you'll see it in some future slides, some of the improvements in the inpatient surgeries, even though really what we've learned over the last couple months when our inpatient surgeries came down was that a number of the inpatient surgeries have now migrated to outpatient surgeries because, again, we have been better in the identification of cases that were not meant to be inpatient. They were observation after the surgery and would have remained as outpatient. So we're catching that better. The ICU volume this month increased, and we did have one of the highest CMIs that I have seen since I've been here. We were up at like 1.6, I think. Next slide. So here's, admissions. We had 278 admissions, so about 9 a day. Kind of average, middle of the road for us, where we tend to run somewhere between about 8.5 and 10 is a high for us. Deliveries. So deliveries, we had 79, so it was actually a pretty strong month for us. We had 80 in March, but normally we're sitting in the 65 to 70 range, so 79 was pretty. Average daily census. It was interesting just looking back to see how close it was, or how May looked, compared to May of last year, and fairly close. A little bit better on the length of stay, down about a day on the census, but certainly the census had gone back up from where it had been the first few months of the year. Unfortunately, in June, we're seeing a census of just around 31, so it's kind of dropping back down, and May is turning out to be a little bit of an outlier. Surgeries, so the higher ICU census, the increasing surgery cases, both, I think, really factored into the higher acuity of 1.62. And as you can see there, we had 64 inpatient surgeries, which is by far the strongest that we've seen since last November. Okay, on the outpatient visit side, this is, really kind of the same story that we've been having all along. We had averaged about 98 ER outpatient visits and about 101 non-ER visits. Our non-ER outpatient visits have been down a bit. We've been challenged with some staffing issues in imaging that has caused us to sometimes schedule and reschedule imaging appointments, but the outpatient visits in total are still exceeding where we had budgeted. On the surgeries, so blue being your outpatient, green being your inpatient, we had 120 outpatient surgeries, so continuing to exceed what we had budgeted for outpatient surgeries. We had 22 assisted robot cases, so right in line with where we've been and where we want to continue to be. And so we averaged 6 surgeries a day for the month. So on the inpatient admission side, a slight decline in payer mix here. We were down at 13.7% on our commercial, and the alliance is 43.5%, so almost a percentage down from last month. We did pick that up primarily in the Medicare and managed Medicare payers. On the outpatient side, again, a slight drop in commercial, down about 0.8%, and the alliance is where we really picked up the most. We're at 49.3% here, so about a 2.5% increase there, slight decrease on the Medicare side. Quick stop before I go into the next section. Any question on kind of monthly financials, volumes? Everybody's eye. All right, let's talk cash. Okay, cash. So I'll start by saying something that you're not going to see anywhere in this presentation, but because it is so new, I'll tell you the good news today is that we got a check or a deposit for $1.3 million related to our incentive program that we do with the Alliance. This was the 2023 incentive program. Last year around this time, we got $1 million for the 2022. This year in the 2024 program, we get quarterly incentives, and we've received one so far this year because they run in on a lag. And that one was about $400,000. But it was really exciting to get $1.3 million today because this is one that they don't kind of like warn you it's coming. I shouldn't say warn you, it's a good warning to get, but so I didn't have it built into my cash forecast, so it was net increase. Woohoo! Bell ringing. I need to ring the bell today. So some good news there. So this first slide is payer collections only. I don't factor into this slide QAF and DISH payments and incentive payments that come in because they come when they come, and they can really skew this slide and make the trend look different than what it looks like. So this is purely cash collections, and you can see from the trend line that we're trending in the right direction. It's going up, but it's volatile. It can be very inconsistent, and so that puts a little extra strain just in trying to determine how much AP can go out, what's coming, when to, start worrying about needing to make a next draw or cash advance sort of thing. So that's what collections coming in the door look like. Next slide. So biweekly payroll, and generally we're fairly consistent. The one kind of outlier you see here really isn't as big as the bar makes it look. I mean, we're really only talking about a $70,000 change there, and this was at a point where we started putting more cash into the retirement plan, actually making a cash deposit into this new retirement plan that we had put together for the SEIU service and maintenance employees. They're on a different retirement plan from the other employees that we fund their retirement, and there wasn't. We only pay that out once a year. We don't do the biweekly contributions, but we needed to start accruing the cash for that. So we opened a separate account. We started making deposits. This was right around the time we were starting it and kind of needing to, I think we did a little bit of an increase there just to catch up some of the backlog, and then we've kind of evened it out. Now we just make a biweekly deposit like we do for the other retirement. So, other than that, I think we're doing a pretty good job trying to manage productivity and overtime, to keep our payroll as consistent as possible, since I don't want that one to be the wild card. Next slide. And here's AP, and this is, the hardest story to tell. We've been fairly steady in the second quarter, but, we are seeing increasing need for payment plans with vendors. We are getting increasing level of calls asking about payments. We've run into a few snags where we're scrambling to get a payment to a vendor to make sure that a service or product will continue. So what this is showing is that, we have a backlog as of last week, but, almost $6.4 million. And generally, the green section, current, meaning it's not even a day overdue, it's before the due date. That tends to sit in the $1.3 to $1.5 million range. So, in total, we sit close to, $8 million worth of accounts payable.
Is there some other payables not shown here, probably?
Are you talking about on the balance sheet?
Yeah.
We also have accruals sitting.
Mm-hmm.
We will also have accruals.
Oh, the accruals, yeah,
On the balance
okay, yeah. Yeah, there's accruals in there, but not, these are based on invoices. Thank you for that. Yeah, these are based on invoices in our, that are actually in our system waiting to be paid, because we have an aging schedule. Okay. So, to boil that all down, cash is very tight, and it will continue to be tight over the next 3 months, because we don't have another large clock payment coming until October. We have a couple small ones coming, but these are ones where, we have to pay out first, and then they go, draw down federal funds to pay us more than what we paid out. I've negotiated all of those so that some of them, like in this first cycle 4, which is in the mid-August, it would be about $1.3 million receipt, but I have negotiated that we won't pay the $800,000 up front. They'll just withhold it, so we'll see about $500,000. The QAF 7, that's our next big payment. That is, usually it's, about $5.4 million or so. That one we were able to negotiate a 10% good faith payment. That's the one that I generally am going to the Alliance ahead of time if I need a cash advance and things. Can I get a couple million of that $4.5, $5 million now, so that kind of make it till October. And then the cycle 5 is another receipt that's in mid-October. That one's actually a little bit smaller, and again, by negotiating the payment to be a withhold, we'll only see about $334,000 of that. A couple other things going on. We have our letter of credit loan with the county. That was due to pay $500,000 at the end of this week. And then the next one would be $500,000 at the end of December. They have agreed to defer those payments till 2025. And like I say, I will likely, before the end of the summer, need to make a swap advance. Unless I have more days like today where $1 million shows up that I wasn't looking for, it'll be hard to make it through the summer. That's the end of cash. Any questions there? All right. Then just a couple of slides on the budget. This is really the first meeting where we're going to do some budget introduction to the board. And so the first slide I have on the budget is just really the high-level budget calendar and kind of a summary of what we plan to present each month. So this month, just presenting the budget calendar itself and a little bit of discussion on high-level volume projections. We've taken a couple passes as a leadership team through the high-level volume projections, trying to get ourselves comfortable with, what we are seeing in terms of current volume, what we're expecting in terms of other efforts. Trying to nail those down. They, might still have a little bit of room for movement. Next month, want to be bringing things a little lower down. Still summary. I'm not going to give you every department's volume or productivity standards, but we'll give you some news about how that's going and kind of what we're seeing there, as well as using those volumes to start projecting net revenue for next year and, what kind of CDM assumptions we are planning. And then we'll also be looking at, what kind of inflation and other increases we see coming to hit us. Then, by the August meeting, we should be able to kind of say, here's what the budget is starting to shape up, looking like, how it's kind of comparing year over year, what some of those initiatives that are in works, what we're kind of projecting those to look like. And, it's really between August and September where we're trying to get as much of the heavy lifting on the budget done as possible, doing analysis, looking for gaps, kind of finalizing an EBITDA target. I want to try to come, by the end of August with an EBITDA target, and then, just see where our gaps are and what would it take to close those gaps. And then, being very aggressive, knowing, what the challenges are with our tools and our time, would be to have a draft budget by the October meeting for approval. I'd be very surprised if we're really ready to approve it. I mean, that'd be great news if we were, but if not, my goal will be then, let's be close enough that we can approve it in November. Yep. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
So your November meeting is on the
Oh, well then, that's the wrong date. I will fix that for tomorrow's slide.
Question on, think that third row there, Department of Volume for Food Standards. Would we see a budget this year, or when, when in the evolution of our timeline, might we see a budget that's broken down by departments or some kind of operating segment? Right now, we have consolidated district hospital and then hospital.
Yeah. Well,
is it too ambitious this year, or were you thinking of having some?
we can show you department level volumes. I was thinking we may roll them up.
Like you might have, like,
I mean, it's a schedule. It'll be like, it'll, be a page with a whole bunch of lines of information. 50 some odd departments or whatever we have. I mean, typically, because we are working in that level of detail and saying, okay, either what's rolling 12 look like, or, year-to-date annualized, what are we kind of projecting there? So are you wanting to see departmental volumes? I don't usually have boards wanting to look at that level of detail.
Visioning where we're going into public entity, it's going to be an expectation for us even down to line item detail. What's the travel budget for this department division at a very granular level? I'm not saying we're going to get there anytime soon. We should balance that, but there will be discussions and interest.
Well, we have that now. I mean, we have that this year. I just haven't thought about how to make that.
I don't know that,
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see other public healthcare districts.
I agree with you.
I don't know that I've seen that level of detail
Yeah.
before. I feel like, that would be like a 800-page packet.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen that before. I've typically boards I'm on to get down into the department level skills organization. Right? Yeah. But if you have examples where that's the case,
It's all over the public sector. So I'm not saying for
there's,
Maybe let's put this on the whiteboard for a parking lot idea.
yeah,
I don't-
I mean, I think that, there's definitely, we have, the ability to show, we show you the level of, like, benefits. Well, could be 10 benefit accounts underneath there, healthcare benefits, vision benefits, dental benefits.
And I'm not asking even about that, I'm more asking, like, there's consolidated, we have that view, we have hospital-wide, we have that view. I think having it at department level would be where I want us to consider the finish.
Yeah, I think let's take that offline and talk about it, because I'm not sure about that. Okay, next slide. So here's a high-level look at the inpatient volumes. We've got some changes over rolling 12 that might look bigger than you would expect until you kind of drill into what's under the covers. On admissions and discharges, just in our current volume, we're really only projecting about a 1% increase. We've had an increased volume in GI because we've now had Dr. B for a year, but he was, the rolling 12 is finally just picking up, say, almost a year's worth of his activity, probably not quite even yet, because he came later in the summer, started doing, and his inpatient volume came even a little bit later. So, things like that, having in-house intensivists and fewer cases that we might have to transfer out. That was our basis premise for getting kind of the first 1%. Then we're looking at, potentially having an increase in some pediatrics volume. Had preliminary, discussions of what could come our way. And so we've tried to be conservative about what that would mean, but, it could mean 150 more inpatient admits. And so that's why you see a 5.4% change over rolling 12 there. From a length of stay, we're pretty much flat. We're not, none of that business. The PEDS volume could actually be a little bit lower length of stay than what we what we're currently budgeted at, which is 3.8. We're doing a little bit better than budget, but the overall volume, we're still expecting to be in the same kind of case mix and need for stay, and we already have pretty strong processes around managing length of stay. From a delivery standpoint, deliveries, we've seen them really a little bit volatile, and, not necessarily always up at that 79 or 80. So just kind of threw a 1% in there, which is really only like 8 more a year. And then on the inpatient surgeries, we did take into account what we've been seeing with the transition to more outpatient surgeries and what we've just seen in the first 5 months of the year. And so, we are really expecting that trend will continue. So on the outpatient side, we expect that as we're continuing to try to make sure we have proper staffing and, we expect things like ED visits continuing to grow, outpatient visits. They're very busy, and as long as we have the staffing, we have the demand out there. So we're, looking at 2 to 2.5% on the outpatient side, and then really the outpatient surgery growth. And this is both from the fact that we just seem to be seeing it, and also the fact that we're hoping to bring the cath lab on. We did make a recent change in our assumptions around cath lab. It's been great having Phyllis come in and be working on cath lab and really getting awareness around what is it going to take to get the cath lab stood up in this first year, what sorts of things are we going to be able to do in the first year versus longer term, And so we, had a discussion that said, we should really put our thoughts around volume for the first year on the outpatient side. That's much more likely that's where we're gonna see volume. So, we have about 235 cases projected for next year, all in outpatient. And then, from the admissions standpoint, from ED admissions and things like that, we're kind of following current trends there. There's nothing really standing out too much there. And as you can see, we're, looking at 35,000 ED visits next year. So getting that renovation started, at least the planning for that renovation, because we're busting at the seams. And that is it.
Renovation. From a timing perspective, we're gonna start a renovation of the project at some point in the next 18 months or 24 months. Feels highly likely that's not gonna impact our budget model, closing and diverting or.
Correct, yeah. All the
The,
design and,
the first tranche of bond dollars will
Yep.
go towards design and
Yep.
development, not any actual building. That will be the second tranche.
Yep.
So we wouldn't actually be doing the, what the project is gonna cost. Just to sell it.
The timeline looks great. Thank you for focusing and hearing this stuff. This is good. Good level setting for our board, our new board member, the staff has spent some time, so I really appreciate planting the seeds with that. No other questions, any other questions?
Also, too, Dr. Gallagher did join us at 12:05.
Oh, good.
Joe, if you can hear us, can you confirm if you have anybody over the age of 18 in your room with you? Okay, thank you.
We can't hear you.
You're on mute, Dr. Gallagher.
There's two different icons. Everything imaginable went wrong technically. No one over 18 in the room. Me and two dogs.
Yep,
Thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, we can adjourn our meeting, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Gallagher, appreciate you.
yeah.
Well.